welcome to Tech to Tech presented by KYZEN, where we will explore common cleaning questions and answers. Let's get started. I would like to introduce KYZEN's own Beth Bivins.
Thank you everyone for joining today. This is the third in a series of discussions about solvent replacement. And today we're going to discuss what my options are for traditional vapor degreasing. So the future of vapor degreasing solvents is very fluid, not to pun a phrase, but that's what's happening right now. So as far as HFEs go, 3M is exiting the business. They are the only US manufacturer. And we learned this week that the last orders must be placed by customers by March 31st of 2025. So about a year from right now. So if you haven't already started looking for replacements for your 3M Novec products, it's a good time to start. HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons, governments, including the US, are mandating phase outs. In fact, here in the US, consumption production has been scaled back by the mandate by 40% this year. So products like Vertrel will be going down and then away over a period of years. TSCA, or the Toxic Substances Control Act, which is an EPA list that has been evaluating a few of the more traditional solvents for toxicity and also phasing those out. And those include trichloroethylene and propyl bromide, perchloroethylene or PERC, and methylene chloride. And then the big buzzword right now is PFAS. The EPA has defined PFAS, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Individual states also have their own definitions of PFAS, and the EPA and the states will be requiring manufacturers to report the amount of PFAS that they make, that they import. So it's a good time to start looking if you have PFAS too, which the HFEs and HFCs are considered PFAS. So what are my solvent options? So the new global solvents of choice are either hydrofluoroolefins or hydrochlorofluoroolefins, which we will discuss a little bit later on in the presentation. Also blends of the HFO and HCFO with trans 1,2-dichloroethylene, which is what's doing the cleaning in the blends. And then there's modified alcohol and hydrocarbon solvents, but those are only to be used in vacuum vapor degreasing. And the presentation in the last session discussed that. So if you need more information about vacuum vapor degreasing, you can refer back to that. But today I'm going to be talking about the more traditional type of vapor degreasing. So to future-proof your traditional vapor degreasing, the easiest thing is to replace the existing solvent in your degreaser with another type of solvent. But if you have an older generation degreaser, I'd say 20 or more years old, you might want to consider buying a new one with a more efficient setup so that you can serve the solvent. They're more energy efficient. They have automated process controls like hoists, as you can see over here in this picture. And they have a lid, so the solvent stays inside the machine much better and less exposure for workers. So here are the products that KYZEN has that we consider to be future-proof. Our KYZEN SLV-803 is a 100% HCFO solvent with the boiling point similar to 3M Novec products. It has an exposure limit of 250 parts per million, and it is not defined as PFAS by the US EPA. KYZEN's SLV-901 is a blend of SLV-803 and trans 1,2-dichloroethylene with the boiling point just a bit lower, but this is the solvent that you would use for heavier duty cleaning like oils, anything except for maybe fluorocarbon or fluorinated greases. And then Metalnox M6920 is an HFO solvent with a very high exposure limit, as you can see. And none of these three products are defined as PFAS by the US EPA. They're non-flammable also. So if you're looking to replace a certain product, here's a little handy chart that you can refer to. If for the Novec 7100, you would use the SLV 803 or M6920. Also Novec 71 IPA, the same. And if you are using one of the 71DE, 72DE, 72DA, 73DE, these are the blends of HFE and trans 1,2-dichloroethylene. The KYZEN SLV 901 would be your choice for that. And then that would be the same as for Vertrel, MCA and SFR, and also N-propyl bromide. And just a reminder that our replacements are not considered PFAS by the US EPA definition. All of these products here on the left, with the exception of N-propyl bromide, are considered PFAS, and N-propyl bromide has its own set of issues, the most significant being the exposure limit of 0.1 part per million, which most people can't keep under that in any type of vapor degreaser, actually. So where do you start? If you haven't started already, now is probably a good time, since 3M will be basically out of the business in a year, but we can help. We have a lab in Nashville. We can run cleaning trials on your parts. We can use different types of equipment, different solvents to see which one works the best. And we have all different sorts of cleanliness verification equipment that we can use, including particle count, FTIR, SEM. We can also probably do whatever it is you're doing now to verify cleanliness. And also, you're welcome to visit our lab, or you can send the parts and we will clean them for you. So in conclusion, many vapor degreasing solvents, most notably the 3M Novec, will no longer be available or have limited availability in 18 months. So it's important to work with a supplier like KYZEN, who can assist with the screening of replacements, which will accelerate the qualification process and include a continued supply of your solvents. The worst thing that could happen is that you'd have to shut down your process because you cannot get the solvent you've been using. So some frequently asked questions. Will the new replacement solvents work in my existing degreaser? The answer is yes, they will. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have an older degreaser, you might want to consider purchasing a new one to help conserve solvent, because these solvents are traditionally very expensive. So it would help to have a degreaser that will help to keep the solvent contained inside of it. What's the best method to ensure that any replacement solvent will provide the same cleaning results in my existing degreaser? Well, the best method would be to run sort of a side-by-side comparison and just evaluate the cleanliness of the parts that you clean in your current process versus the new solvent. This is something else that we can help with. If you happen to send the parts to our lab and send some parts that were cleaned in the old process, we can compare before and after. Or you can do that yourself. Can I use modified alcohol or hydrocarbon solvents in my open-top degreaser? The answer to that is no. Modified alcohol and hydrocarbon are both combustible solvents, so you would not want to heat them in a vapor degreaser, in an open-top degreaser. The purpose of a vacuum degreaser is to keep air out of the system so that they don't become flammable. So you'd always want to use those in a vacuum vapor degreaser. And how can I know my new solvents will be available for the long term? Well, there are no guarantees. However, we're fairly confident that the solvents that we have at KYZEN will be available at least for the foreseeable future. Thank you for watching, and now I will turn it back over to William.
Thanks, Beth. Thank you all for watching this Tech2Tech session. If you would like to discuss this topic further or have any questions not answered in the session, please contact your local KYZEN regional manager or send an email to tech@kyzen.com. We'll have someone follow up with you as soon as possible. And if you like this video, be sure to follow us on our social media platforms for more expert cleaning content.